Welcome to the Hibbing Economic Development Authority regular meeting agenda. Today is January 13th, 2025. I would like to call the meeting to order. We do have everybody in attendance with the exception of Member Hoffman-Sokomen and Member Egan. First up that we are going to do tonight is the oath of office for January 1st, 2025 to December 31st, 2031 for Celia Cameron.
Madam President, then I think I'm administering the oath. So
Okay.
Celia, I'm going to say, repeat after me. I, and state your name,
Celia Cameron,
do solemnly swear to support the Constitution of the United States,
do solemnly swear to support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
and to discharge faithfully the duties of the office of Heda member
to discharge faithfully the duties of the office of the Heda
of the City of Hibbing,
of the City of Hibbing,
Minnesota,
Minnesota,
to the best of my judgment and ability, so help me God.
to the best of my judgment and ability, so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Celia. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Okay, on to the approval of the agenda for tonight. Can we get a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
Motion approved.
Motion made by Member Schweiberger,
Support.
supported by Vice President Uranus. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now we are going to, the next up on our list is to go into a closed session. And this is for the purpose of the real property parcels 140-0270-00855, 2810 Diane Lane, Hibbing, Minnesota 55746, pursuant to Minnesota State Section 13D.05 SUB.3 C3. Can we get a motion to go into a closed session?
I'll make a motion, Madam Chair.
Motion made by Mayor Hyduk,
Support.
supported by Member Schweiberger. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We will go into a closed session. Okay, we are back from our closed session, and we are going to continue with our meeting right now. Additions, deletions, adds, deletes, we are going to modify, move board report number 3A to the consent agenda number 5. So we can move to the approval of the minutes. The first one is going to be approve the minutes of the regular meeting of the Hibbing Economic Development Authority for November 18th, 2024. Can we get a motion for that?
I'll make a motion, Madam.
Motion
President.
made by Mayor Hyduk,
Support.
supported by Member Schweiberger. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. The second one, approve the minutes of the regular meeting of the Hibbing Economic Development Authority for December 16th, 2024. Looking for a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Vice President Uranus,
I'll support.
supported by Mayor Hyduk. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next one, approve the minutes of the workshop meeting of the Hibbing Economic Development Authority for December 16th, 2024. Can I get a motion?
Motion approved.
Motion made by Member Schweiberger,
I'll support.
supported by Mayor Hyduk. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. The last one will be to approve the minutes of the special Hibbing Economic Development Authority meeting for December 20th, 2024. Motion for that.
Motion.
Motion made by Vice President Uranus,
Support.
supported by Member Cameron. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now we can move on to the 2025 official appointment designations for the new year. The first one is going to be to appoint the president of the HEDA for 2025. Do we have a, can we move for a nomination for the president?
Madam President, I'd like to appoint Sherry Mike Brock. For president.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Vice President Drainus to nominate Sherry Mikich Brock for the position of the president. Do we have a second to that?
I will support that.
Supported by Member Schweiberger. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? So we can have a motion to close the nominations for the position of president.
A motion to close.
Motion made by Mayor Hyduk to close the nominations for the position of president. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Vice President Drainus. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Do you want a motion then to accept you as the president?
So now can we have a motion to select myself to the position of the president?
I'll make a motion.
Motion made by Mayor Hyduk,
Support.
supported by Member Schweiberger. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Number 2, we move on to the position of the vice president. Do we have a nomination for the position of the vice president?
Madam Chair, I'll nominate Steve Drainus as vice president.
Okay, we have a motion made by Mayor Hyduk to nominate Steve Drainus to the position of the vice president. Do we have a second?
I'll support.
Supported by Member Schweiberger. Is there any other nominations for the position of vice president? Is there any other nominations? Is there any other nominations?
Madam President, and just since there aren't any other nominations at this point, I don't think you have to make a separate motion to close them since you haven't received any others from the floor. You can move forward with the one name you have.
With just, okay, all
Thank you.
right. Okay, now can we get a motion to close the nominations?
That's the one I think you can avoid because no one else has made a motion to
Okay, so
there.
it's still
So you
the
can
same.
just move to
Elect him
Elect,
as the
yes.
vice president.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so now we are looking for a motion to appoint Steve Drainus to the position of vice president.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Mayor Hyduk,
I support.
supported by Member Cameron. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now we can move on to number 3, appoint Sheena Mulner as the treasurer of the 2025 Heda. Can we get a motion to move for that nomination?
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Member Schweiberger,
I'll support.
supported by Mayor Hyduk. Is there any other nominations? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Now we need a motion to appoint Sheena Mulner to the position of the treasurer for 2025.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Mayor Hyduk,
Support.
supported by Member Schweiberger. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Number 4, appoint Andy Borland of the Selman Borland Assignment Attorney of the 2025 Heda. Can we get a motion to appoint Andy Borland for the attorney for Heda for 2025?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Vice President Drainus,
Support.
supported by Member Schweiberger. Is there any other nominations? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Now we need a motion to nominate Andy Borland to the position of the attorney for Heda for 2025.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Mayor Hyduk,
Support.
supported by Member Cameron. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Number 5, appoint the Finance Committee of the 2025 Heda. Presently, our Finance Committee is myself, Betsy Alavante, Jennifer Hoffman-Sackelman, and Sheena Mulner.
Correct.
Do we need to do them all individually, or?
Not necessarily. If someone wants to make a motion to nominate those 4 people.
Okay.
And then someone else wants to oppose that, but
Okay.
if you get a second, you could just vote on that group.
I'll make that motion to nominate those four to continue as Finance Committee.
Okay, we do have a motion on the floor, but made by Mayor Hyduk to appoint the same ones from last year on the Finance Committee. Do we have a second to this?
I support.
Supported by Member Cameron. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries. Now we need a motion to nominate the Finance Committee of HEDA for 2025. Do we need that?
I think you're already there
We're
because
okay.
they've nominated that group and they've
So
been
we're
accepted.
okay, okay.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, we can move on to number 6, designate the Mesabi Tribune as the official newspaper of the 2025 HEDA. Can we get a motion for that?
I'll make the motion.
Motion made by Mayor Hyduk,
Support.
supported by Member Schweiberger. Any further discussion? Is there any other nominations?
You don't have to do that
No?
on this, I don't
No.
believe.
Nope,
I'd
okay,
just go ahead with this one.
okay. All right, any other further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. But we do need the motion to accept Mesaba Tribune as,
You
to
did
appoint
that.
them.
We just
You
did
just
it.
nominated them and
Okay.
accepted them.
So we don't have to
Yeah.
appoint them?
Right.
Okay. So
All the rest are like that, Madam Chair.
All the
in
rest
case
are
you-
Okay,
Yes.
all right, so number 7. This is kind of confusing. Number 7, designate the following depositories for 2025. Park State Bank, US Bank, Wells Fargo Bank, Security State Bank, National Bank of Commerce, 4M Fund, Wells Fargo Advisors, US Bank Investment Services Incorporated, and Wells Fargo Investment Services. Can we get a motion to designate the following for the depositories?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Mayor Hyduk,
Support.
supported by Member Cameron. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. On to number 8. Set the regular meeting of HEDA for the second Monday of each month at 5 PM in the City Hall Council Chamber, with exceptions due to the scheduling conflicts.
Madam President, I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion made by Vice President Drainus,
Support.
supported by Member Cameron. Any further discussion?
Madam President, if I may.
Yes.
This request was put forward because of the third Monday following some holidays and also conflicting with the Hibbing Airport Authority, or the Chisholm-Hibbing Airport Authority meeting.
Okay, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Number 9, set the regular workshop meeting of HEDA for the second Monday of each month following the regular HEDA meeting in the City Hall Council Chamber, with exception due to scheduling conflicts. Can we get a motion to set the workshop meetings for the second Monday as well?
Motion
approved.
Motion made by Member Schweiberger,
Support.
supported by Mayor Hyduk. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Number 10, approve the respective depositories' designated safekeeping entities. Can we get, what's the,
There are places designated around the community where the city can hold certain items. We just, traditionally, you just accept that.
okay.
Okay. Well, I'll make that motion then.
Motion made by Mayor Hyduk,
Support.
supported by Vice President Drainus, to approve the respective depositories. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We can move on to the consent agenda. Consent agenda number 1, affirm the Economic Development Loan Fund as of December 31st, 2024, in the amount of $1,179,629.55. Number 2, approve the disbursements for the month of December in the amount of $2,014,423.26. Number 3, set the next regular meeting of HEDA for Monday, February 10th, 2025 at 5 PM in the Hibbing City Hall Council Chamber. Number 4, set the next HEDA working session for Monday, February 10th, 2025, following the regular meeting in the Hibbing City Hall Council Chamber. Number 5, approve resolution number 25-01-06 to terminate the lease with the Chisholm Hibbing Airport Authority and refer to the city council. And we just have the 1 through 5 for tonight. And I will be abstaining from,
If they're all on the consent agenda, if you're abstaining from them all unless you want to pull one item and abstain from that only. Present.
I will be abstaining from number 5.
So you should ask that item be pulled, vote on 1 through 4, and then
Okay.
have a separate vote on number 5.
Okay, so we have to pull the number 5?
Correct.
What a motion to approve 1 through 4 then.
Okay, we have a motion made by Member Schweiberger to support the consent agenda 1 through 4.
Support.
Supported by Vice President Jaranis. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. On to the presentations.
No, and then you have item 5 needs to be voted on then as well.
Oh, sorry.
That's right.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so we do have number 5, and that is, once again, to approve the resolution number 25-01-06 to terminate the lease with the Chisholm Hibbing Airport Authority and refer to the city council. Can we get a motion?
Motion approved.
Motion made by Member Schweiberger. We have support.
Support.
Supported by Member Cameron. Is there any further discussion?
Madam President, if I may. We are just doing this resolution tonight at the EDA board meeting and referring back to city council because city council is actually is working on this project. It hasn't been in the EDA's purview for years. So it was a 2008 lease that was signed, and now we're going to transfer it back.
Okay, we do have a motion. We have a second. No further discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
And Madam President, you abstained, correct?
I did, correct.
Thank you.
And that's it for the consent agenda. We can move on then to page 3 on the presentations.
Yes, Madam President, members of the EDA board, first up is Todd Erickson with the AMGS expansion project update.
Thank you,
Yes. Thanks for your patience tonight, Todd. Welcome.
for sure. Good evening.
Good evening.
Let's see here. All right, on our agenda, we'll talk about our safety, our schedule, current progress, project budget, and project contingency status. So safety, as I've told you before, we are enrolled in OSHA's consultation program. We did have an OSHA consultation scheduled for today, but we postponed it with wind chills 35 below zero this morning. There was nobody working outside, and so we've chosen to reschedule it. It probably happened in early February. So to date, we've had 0 accidents or incidents, nothing recordable on site. For schedule, the steel structure itself is complete. Detailing is just about complete. Wall sheeting started. Next thing we'll do after wall sheeting is we'll start with the roofing. And I just wanted to note on our schedule that weather has impacted us. We are behind where we would like to be right now. In the last month, we've lost 6 or 7 days due to temperatures, like today. So we are doing multiple things to change that. At one time, we were planning to have heat on this week inside the building. What we're doing is changing how we're gonna build it. We will have ground thaw spread on the ground with blankets as we take the frost out. just before the sheeting gets completed. So that's one of our ideas that we're changing. We're also talking with all of our trade partners that'll be coming out so we can have more crews and everything we can do to recover schedule once we get past this weather. I've also talked to Jason over at AMGS. I talked to him last week. Initially, we were targeting April 1st to start him installing his equipment. I called him just to see where I needed to be prepared for him on April 1st. And he told me the area of the building he would like to start in, but he also noted that due to some materials and availability of his team, he's looking more like May 1st, so for when he's getting in there. So I took that under advisement that his move-in date is different. We're still pushing for everything we can do to get it as close to that April 1st date so he can have his time in there. So again, weather is the major impact that we have right now. So questions or comments on that? Okay. So the schedule, we're 4 months into a 10-month project, so obviously we're 40% complete. Some photos. This is what the building looked like last week when I was on site with the steel erection. Multiple pictures here show the wall sheeting got started. The picture on the left, when I talked about the durations in the project, I said we were getting close to being done with detailing. You can see the windows are framed around and trimmed around. There's vertical members in there, the high shiny part in there. It's all part of the assembly process, and it goes from what it looks like the building is done to they'll spend a week on detailing, so it doesn't seem like they're making progress, but they really are. So the middle picture is wall sheeting on the west wall. We've got we're close to 100 feet wall sheeted over there, and the picture on the right is the south wall facing the road. Budget status, we're, as of our bill that went out 31st of December, we are billed 38% or 2.9 million. And we have 62% complete or 4.7 million. So contingencies, well, I did forget to change that top line where I said there was no changes, because there was. The data below does suggest it. So there was a small change to expenditure in the design team contingency last month. And then in the KA scope gap coverage, there was some items that were bought out last month. So still everything is right where it should be, right as anticipated. There are a couple other change items out for consideration now. One of them that's in consideration is adding electronic door controls to all the exterior doors on the project. So they'll have card readers rather than keys. So
Is there a breakdown on what these changes are? Will we see a breakdown on what the changes are that add to the contingency?
Mayor Hyduk, they are in your packet in the budget.
Oh, okay.
It details change order number 2, 3, 4, and 5,
very good.
and what those changes are.
I must have missed that. All right,
Yeah.
very good, thank you.
Mayor Hyduk, if you'd like, I can add more detail to my presentation for next time, but I'll.
No, I
Okay,
appreciate the offer. Since it is in a written form, I have no problem with that.
okay, sounds good. I could detail any of these things, so. Any other questions?
Yeah, when does the roof? I mean, I just thought the roof would go on before your sidewalls, but that isn't the case here.
The Nucor pre-engineered, it's called the erection drawings. They give you guidelines on how to
Okay.
put the building together. In the past, with some wall details at the roof, where the walls joined the roof, Nucor always required that the walls be on first
Okay,
before the roof went on.
very good.
The other thing is, there is some uplift characteristics to an open building with a roof that you have
Yeah.
to be controlled. Nucor doesn't have that requirement anymore, but a lot of these guys are very familiar with that process,
Yeah.
and they still prefer it, so.
Well, your walls will give you stability anyway, so I understand why they do it.
They
Makes
sure do,
sense.
yep. My goal is that as soon as permitting, we're gonna have roof going, walls going, possibly at the same time.
Very
So,
good.
I guess I just have one question, and it's relevant but not fully relevant, I guess we'd say. So when you put out your timeline, being in northern Minnesota, how many days do you allow for cold weather days where you're gonna be missing some days, right? Or do you just timeline it out like everything's gonna be perfect weather-wise?
we schedule in some time down, but since we started steel erection, just in the last month, we've probably lost 6 days. Well, since we started steel erection between rain and cold, we've documented over 10 days. So over 2 weeks in a period of 3 months, we don't plan for that. So,
Okay. I'm just trying to understand how it all goes, but yeah.
yeah, I appreciate that, and you should anticipate it's gonna get cold in Minnesota. You should anticipate it's gonna rain or snow. We do. And we have some of that built into our schedule. This has been a little unusual, so.
Okay, thanks.
Anything else?
Anybody else have any questions?
Looks good. I've had a lot of great comments on people that drive by. It's neat to see
have
that
too.
going up, so
Good.
I appreciate the due diligence and follow through on this project. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ted.
Okay,
All right,
on to number 2.
Presentation number 2 is a request for extension from Mr. Ray Davidson, and he is here as well, so I'll ask him to approach the podium. His emailed request is in your packet.
Hello,
Hi, Ray.
how's everybody doing? All right, so I'm asking for an extension because when I entered into this agreement with Betsy and the city, I had explained to Betsy at the time that it was going to be a very tight timeline. I have the Elks project going on over on 4th Avenue, and it is taking up far more of my time than expected. As this man here leaving the room knows, there's always delays. Well, I'm dealing with buildings that shift and problems that were completely unforeseen. So I felt an obligation to the owner and to the Elks themselves to get this thing done as quickly as possible. And my real intention was to not step foot in the Elks after December 1st. I also had elbow surgery on November 18th, which it was a little bit unexpected, so it is what it is on that part. But because of my other circumstances at the Elks, it didn't work out where I could leave as of December 1st. I'm about 2 days away from being done there 100%, but I have taken time away from their project to come over here and get this thing done, and I'm I'd say about 90%, 85 to 90% out. The whole upstairs is done, the whole main floor is done, or staged out, ready to be walking out the door. There's a little bit of stuff in the basement that I'm getting, and I'm pretty much ready to take it all, or to leave the building. But one thing I'd like to bring up is that even though this is ran over, I know that if I leave the building with all the junk in there that's in there, it's more stuff that you guys have to pay to clean up. So the more time I have at it, the less stuff that I leave behind. I'm trying not to leave a whole bunch of trash for you to have to deal with. And that yard, I know that was a big sore spot for a number of years. That yard is essentially emptied out. So all I can tell you is I'm doing the best I can, and I've lived in the Elks building since March of last year. Almost, 18 hours a day for a lot of days. I had to do it by myself. There was no budget for extra work, extra labor. It just got approved. The owner of the building, building, he took it upon himself to give me a little bit of a budget to hire a helper. But before that, it was me hanging sheetrock by myself, me studying everything out by myself, me doing everything I could by myself. So that's the reason why I'm asking for the extension, and I'm asking for 45 days. However, I'm gonna push to have, I think the next 3 days I could be down to, if it doesn't go and you guys say get out of there by Sunday, I could probably be out of there by Sunday. Otherwise, by the next meeting, I would 100% be out of there no matter what.
So it went from December 31st was the end date, right? And then
Correct.
it would be February 15th?
Thereabouts, yep.
When did you start moving your stuff out of there? Have you been doing it like all along?
Yeah, I've had a guy in there since the day that we worked the deal. There was a lot more. Listen, I had a lot of space, and in that time, I managed to accumulate a lot of stuff. And in my letter to Betsy, I actually said, you know, sometimes when you pick up things that you haven't seen for a number of years, my one example was this little truck that a guy gave me that died now, but he gave to me for my kid when my firstborn was born. And I'm picking this thing up, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, well, that sucks. You know, you lose your business, you lose basically my who I was for however many years. I mean, most of you people know me from there. And then to go from that to this, and you're picking up stuff and you're looking at it, you're like, okay, well, that really sucks to look at this again. Not looking for a sad story here, I'm just telling you that that's how this kind of gone. There's been a few things that I've just had a minute to think about, so.
So I got a question, what we're looking at on the potential tear down, what's the timeline on that?
As soon as we can take possession, full possession, then we would do the declaration and then go through the next steps. So my recommendation would be, if you're inclined to allow for an extension, we'd need it done by February 7th, because our February 10th meeting is when we're gonna have, you know, we can't do it today, so we'll have to do it on February 10th.
Okay, so February 7th, I'm good with February 7th if that works.
So what you're saying, Betsy, is you gotta go out for quotes on the demolition yet? And you wanna put that in place right away to make that decision on the 10th?
Right, so we can do the declaration, call out for bids, and start that process. Because the funding that we have won't last forever,
Right.
right? There's gonna be an end date, and then we have to give it back, so I need to get this done.
You definitely need to keep moving it forward, yes.
So Ray, you heard what was just discussed.
Yeah.
So, you know, would February 7th,
Absolutely,
okay.
yeah. Hey, I'd like to add though, if you wanna bring somebody in there tomorrow, it's no big deal, they can come in and look at it. I mean, I tore down a building when there was stuff in there, so they can come in, they can look and put their bids together tomorrow if you want somebody there.
Madam President, Mr. Davidson, unfortunately, we have to do certain things in certain orders, and that requires a declaration that these buildings are substandard and that nobody's no longer in there and that they're, you know, not suitable for, habitation, all of those things, so we can't do it until you're done. We
giving you an
have brought somebody in for a rough estimate, so we do have that already.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure, okay,
All right.
yeah, just throwing it out there.
So
But
the new
that'd be
end date,
fantastic, I'd appreciate that.
February 7th,
Yep.
And that would come up in our,
2025, yes. That will come up later.
yep.
Okay, anybody else have any questions for Ray, or we heard everything that we needed to, I think, Ray?
Thank you.
I have one
I
question.
appreciate your time.
How's the Elks Club coming?
Man, you should stop in there. You wouldn't believe it's in Hibbing.
All
I'll be
right.
honest with you, it's far more than what
Thank
you'd
you.
expect.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yes.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah, stop in.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, am I done?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Ray. Okay. On to number 3.
Madam Chair, I will not be doing another update on that. We've already discussed most of
Okay.
that in closed session. Thank you very much. So I'll turn that back
You
over.
don't update.
Right over to Cassie, in the absence of,
Good evening, Madam President and members of the board. I handed out an updated loan schedule as of today for you all to review. Just a few things to note. We received the 4th payment on the judgment that was sent to RCB from Rock and Rollers. We received 2 checks from Moxie. These checks were applied to the past due amounts from September 2024 through December 2024. The January payment for both loans is past due. Iron Range Restaurants made a draw of $10,000. The total drawn to date is $103,838.68. Arrowhead Motorcycle Apparel's loan 250-11995 is past due for October, November, December, and January. The total past due for this loan, including NSF fees, is $1,756.68. Arrowhead Motorcycle Apparel's loan 250-12004 is past due for December and January. The total past due for this loan is $500. We have fund cash balances as of today between the 3 funds of $1,291,973.04. We have $72,135.51 still outstanding that people need to submit project invoices for. giving a balance to lend of $1,219,837.53. Does anyone have any questions for me?
No,
Nope.
that's condensing. Thank you.
Madam President, at this time, does the board want Finance Department or Attorney Borland to take any action on the 2 loans that are delinquent? One
Have
of
we
them is
sent out
5
any-
months behind?
Has there been any
It would be-
communication? Like, what's communication status on that one?
Have we sent out any letters?
I did on Arrowhead, a demand letter was sent out. I haven't gotten any direct response from them.
Okay, so our next step then,
You'd have to decide whether you want to then proceed with collection efforts and whether you want me to do that and initiate an action to,
What's
what
been,
is-
oh, I'm sorry.
what is the total amount due?
500 and one, I thought it was like 1,500 maybe?
1756 and 500.
Danny, Danny?
Yes, $1,756.68 for one loan, and then $500 for the other loan. And we have not heard any communication from Arrowhead Motorcycle Apparel. And they are 4 months past due.
Yeah, that's a tough part, if you're not getting any.
Communication
any
back.
dialogue
Right.
back and forth.
Pay
then-
$10 a month.
Right, absolutely.
That's the balance on the loan.
so if
I was
you were-
going to
if
say,
you were
it looks like about 25,000 total outstanding, would you say? Between their COVID loan and their regular loan?
So-
Or they have 2 COVID loans?
They have 2 COVID loans.
So Betsy, I think you're in the ballpark or in that area. So since we sent a demand letter saying, you know, you haven't made payments, you haven't addressed this, per the notes that they signed, Heda has the right to call the whole amount due on the loan, and therefore the action I'd be taking would be to seek the balance of the loans, not just the amount in arrears. What happened with Moxie was we did send demand letters on them, and they responded and they paid the amount that we had made the demand on, bringing them current through the time that they had paid. They're behind in January, but they brought those current. Arrowhead hasn't responded, so that's what we're asking is, do you want me to go ahead and initiate an action for the balance on the loans, calling the whole amount due because they failed to respond?
I would think so.
I would agree. And they've been in arrears for how long? What, on both?
4 months.
4 months? Do we have to do both, or can it just be one? If one is making attempts in the past and one hasn't, can we move forward with one and not the other?
You mean one loan against Arrowhead versus going after both? We're talking about the 2 loans with regard to Arrowhead right now.
Oh, okay, I'm
Just
sorry.
Arrowhead.
I'm sorry, just Arrowhead right now.
Yeah.
All right, my
Right.
fault.
Moxie is back within a month of being current,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
then I would support that.
okay.
I'm sorry, I was thinking you were talking about
Sorry.
those two. Yep, thank you for that correction.
I think we need to move forward with
Very good. I'll work on that.
our next step.
Do we need a motion?
Do we need a motion for that, Andy, or no?
I'll take your direction if you want to make a formal motion, but otherwise I'll just take your direction and
Okay.
proceed in that fashion.
Very good.
Okay, so we're okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions for Cassie? No? Thank you, Cassie. Looks pretty good. Okay, then we can move on to the number 2 under our board reports for Betsy.
Excellent. So item 2A is to consider Ray Davidson's request for an extension to remove personal items from 408 through 412 Howard Street with an extension date of February 7th, 2025.
Do we have a motion for,
I'll make that
This
motion,
request.
Madam Chair.
motion made by Mayor Hyduk,
I'll support.
supported by Member Schweiberger. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Letter
you.
B.
A request to approve the proposal from American Eagle Security Systems for the AMGS expansion project in the amount of $20,625 with an annual expense of $1,319.40 or $109.95 a month moving forward. This is to add the security systems, the electronic doors, and the cameras that the city requires on all of our buildings to this project. It is well within the design contingency. It just was not called out as a line item, so I'm asking for that approval now.
Do we have a motion?
Motion approved.
Motion made by member Schreiberger,
Support.
supported by member Cameron. Any further discussion?
Betsy, the 109's our service contract for maintain and monitoring and everything, correct?
$110
Thank
a
you.
month,
Yep.
yes.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Letter C.
Item C is to approve the resolution number 250107, requesting funds for land acquisition for real property to purchase 2810 Diane Lane, Hibbing, Minnesota 55746, up to the amount authorized in closed session pending successful negotiations with the owner.
Do we have a motion for C?
Motion approved.
Motion made by member Schreiberger,
Support.
supported by member Cameron. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Letter D.
Request to approve the purchase agreement for 2810 Diane Lane, Hibbing, Minnesota, and refer to Planning and Zoning Commission for approval pending successful negotiations with the owners.
Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Vice President Drainus,
Support.
supported by member Cameron. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. E.
A request to approve interfund loan resolution 250108 for the 2810 Diane Lane redevelopment project. This will allow us to pay back our investment in this project through any tax increment district as decided going forward.
Do we have a motion for E?
I'll make a motion, Madam Chair.
Motion made by Mayor Hyduk,
Support.
supported by member Schreiberger. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries. Next one.
And F is to approve the agreement with relocation consultant, just one second, I want to get the exact name in front of me. With WSB for 2810 Diane Lane redevelopment project in the amount of $10,846.
Do I hear a motion?
Motion approved.
Motion made by member Schreiberger,
I'll support.
supported by Mayor Hyduk. Any further discussion?
This would be contingent upon,
Yes, thank you, Mayor.
only upon purchase.
Yep, contingent upon successful negotiations.
Yes.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. G.
So G is just a heads up to the HEDA board that at the next meeting, I'm going to request that Attorney Borland bring his 5 to 15-minute spiel reminder on the proper etiquette for a public body board and quorums, et cetera. So I wanted to make sure that Andy heard the request and that the board was aware that that will be added to the agenda and done at the regular meeting.
Do we have to, need a motion for that?
No.
Well, it's just for me to show up.
Okay. Make sure you show up next time. Okay, if that's, looks like it's it for you, Betsy?
I'll make a motion for adjournment, Madam Chair.
Motion made by Mayor Hyduk to adjourn,
Support.
supported by member Schreiberger. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.